Good morning, good afternoon, guys. Belfast Blues and Boxing, yeah. Can Anthony Joshua beat Tyson Fury? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a good question, isn't it? Uh, I mean, you'd have to sort of the general opinion has been for years, ever since that fight's been talked about, and since Fury sort of made his comeback and started. He had fought Wilder the first time, and then he came back in the second fight and beat him. And around the same time, we were seeing Joshua's decline. You know, when he was in the first Ruiz fight, when he was put down, knocked down, I don't know how many times in that fight. You know, when we seen that psychological damage that was inflicted upon Joshua, you know, so Fury was on the up, and Joshua was sliding big time. In people's opinions, but it's not just that. It's in terms of their style. We all bought into, you know, Tyson Fury's sort of description of Anthony Joshua as a, you know, a bodybuilder, big stiff dosser. You know, he can't box. Well, I think it's fair to say by this point, Anthony Joshua can box. You know, he's a decent boxer. He's a good boxer. Tyson Fury, as far as straight boxing goes, is kind of on another level. And I mean, just watching the two fighters, what we know of Fury, you know, against the performances we've seen from Joshua, you know, that's sort of the conclusion that you come to, isn't it? Is that Fury would just outbox him. You know what I mean? Using his movement, using his slickness. You know, he's too clever for him, basically. And you would imagine in the build up with the mind games and stuff like that, that, you know, earpods or no earpods, you know, Tyson Fury would make Joshua, who is seen to become mentally declining as well, on the slide mentally, that Fury would probably inflict quite a bit of damage psychologically in the build up. But you know, we've seen a resurgence with Joshua, you know, coming off the Franklin fight. He's had this run, you know, since the two Usyk defeats, which he didn't look overly bad in those fights. I didn't think. I think in the first fight, he boxed quite well, considering it's Usyk. You know what I mean? And we didn't really give Joshua that much credit for being much of a boxer before then. He boxed quite well in the Usyk fight, but he tried to box with a master boxer. And I mean, that was the issue there. We know that, you know, everybody's advice was, you know, whether they're a qualified trainer or armchair critics like ourselves, the advice was, you know, you got to take it to him. You got to do what Cesaro did, you know. But he went in there and he boxed with him, and I thought he boxed quite well, considering. In the second fight, he did put it on a wee bit more, and he had success in spells, but I mean, I think he was just frustrated by what was a bad style matchup, but also just having come up a very, very, very good fighter at the peak of his powers, really. At heavyweight, anyway. But, so, like, post that, you know, suddenly you've got Joshua's had this 3-fight winning streak, so he beat Franklin, he beat Hellenius, and he beat Wall. And I was looking at those fights. Personally, I wasn't thinking that they were all that impressive. But do you know what? Sort of seen in the context of last night's performance, suddenly you can chart the growth. And you can say, well, actually, do you know what? All of this stuff that the pundits and the media and stuff have been kind of alluding to, or saying outright, or suggesting, you know, that we're getting the real or the old Joshua's coming back. That performance last night just underlined that. Yeah, it took a big, life-size green highlighter pen and went with an exclamation point on the end and said, yes, we were right in what we were serving you up. It was correct. Check it out. Look at what Joshua done last night. And I mean, you can't disagree with that because it was a fantastic performance. Albeit against a boxing novice. Still no, it's Francis Ngannou. Now, I just seen a quick clip of the final knockdown when he knocked him out. And I mean, Joshua launched that punch from far out. You know, there was like a metre and a half, couple of metres between them. And Ngannou was coming towards him. He had already got a read on him by this point. He knew that his guard, there was basically just holes in it. It was kind of like taking candy from a baby. He knew he wasn't going to miss that straight right hand. He didn't have to set it up. He didn't have to do anything. Now, the guy was stunned. You know what I mean? So that might have added something to that. But regardless, it was quite impressive to see. You know, it was shocking. And it was... I mean, it was great. These are the moments that we live for in boxing. This is the stuff we like to see. So, I mean, looking at it now, you would have to say that Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury is an interesting fight. It's tasty. All of a sudden, it's saucy. Yeah, if we see Joshua, you know, buoyed by that performance and with the confidence that he is showing, you know, in the post-fight interview, you know, everything, he just seems to be a whole lot more together. Now, styles make fights. That Fury-Joshua fight will still be, I mean, you have to be sensible about it. But so much more extra zest, extra fruitiness is to come when we see Fury and against Usyk, which is looking all the more likely now because let's look at it. I mean, the whole build up to this fight and throughout the fight, the interviews that Fury is given, he is putting himself in the spotlight, in the limelight. He is there in public view. So if he was trying to duck out of this fight, you know what I mean? He's going to make himself look really stupid if he ducks out of it now. You know, because he's coming right out and he's involved everywhere. He's talking it up. So, I mean, that sort of instills a bit more confidence in us, doesn't it? That this fight will happen, and hopefully it does. Given that Fury beats Usyk, which is it's not a given by any means, but that's the result that people want to see, so that it sets up this mega fight, the fight we've wanted for years. And we sort of said to ourselves, oh well, they're old now, it won't be as good. Look at how Joshua looked after a performance like that. If his next performance, because it's going to be a year or so until it can happen, all being well, if he gets in another great performance, maybe against a Dubois or somebody like that, and Fury looks convincing against Usyk, you know, and in the rematch, if he really, it's a vintage Fury performance, then we have ourselves, guys, we have ourselves the makings of an absolute mega fight of the century, heavyweight fight of our era. It is on, guys. Belfast, Boxing and Blues, let's make it happen.